Good morning, comrades. Today is Wednesday. I want to thank you guys again so much for making this podcast happen, this daily, now weekly, started weekly, now daily podcast. Remember to rate, subscribe, go ahead and write a review on iTunes. That really helps. Share this with your friends on social media. Again, that really helps so much. Check out our Patreon. It helps us keep the lights on and the server costs paid. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode with Jenny Inez, and we talked about what it's like being a Muslim in the Deep South, and then also Lights for Liberty. And we talked what that is. Lights for Liberty is a nationwide protest against ICE, where people just like yourself, working class heroes, are going out to ICE offices and detention centers and protesting and pretty much letting anybody who works there know this is not normal. You are on the wrong side of history. You're doing evil things, which should be pretty obvious, but a lot of people don't understand that because the mind is weird. The mind is really weird because you can rationalize almost anything. I remember when I was a cop, the stuff I used to rationalize, and that's pretty good. That's a pretty good cop. When I worked in the jail as a pretty good corrections officer, I never did anybody dirty. I never violated anybody's rights. I gave people the respect as human beings that they deserved, no matter what they did. And a lot of reasons I did that is because these were people from my community, and I didn't even have to imagine. It was just a jail. It was just a county, a parish sheriff's deputy. So these people got out, and I would see them out, and they'd be like, "What up, boss? What up, Johnson? How you doing?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, what's up?" And I was like, "Wow, I sure am glad I'm not a shitbag. I'm sure I'm glad that I never fucked anybody." And I think about the time where my fiance, my girlfriend, we lived together, and she bought a refrigerator from a secondhand store, and they didn't do little delivery, so she found somebody on Thumbtack to deliver it. And I come home, and it's two guys who were in the jail, were the delivery guys. So now they know where I live. And it felt really good, again, it felt really good to know that I did. And they were like, "Hey, man, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, dude? You want a beer?" Like, it felt really good to know that I could sleep at night knowing I never fucked anybody over and never did I didn't do nothing to nobody who didn't have it coming, man. Scarface is on Netflix now, so I've already watched it 3 times, so you have to put up with that. But being a good person has tangible benefits, for sure. Like, these aren't just things in theory that we're thinking about here, that we're doing. We're not just being a good person because, mommy or daddy told us to, or our preschool teacher. You do the right things because we all live in a society, and we will all see each other, not in the by and by, not whenever your idea of the afterlife is. We all connect to each other on the street. We do. I was actually want to do a series about the French Revolution. And one of the interesting things about the French Revolution, where Robespierre, if you know who Robespierre was, he was one of the guys who, he pretty much spearheaded the government that came after Bastille Day, after they killed the King Louis, and his wife Marie Antoinette. And one of the unknown stories that never really gets told about Robespierre is he was a young man, and before he went to law school to be a lawyer. But before that, he had a chance run-in with the King of France. And he had this whole speech prepared. And he studied it, and he practiced it, and he kept practicing his delivery. And he wanted to make this was his chance to communicate to the king. You know, and people then, they believe that their leaders, they still do now for some weird reason, that their governmental leaders were appointed by God. So put yourself in that mindset. You're preparing to speak to somebody which you probably believe is the only chance you're going to get to in your whole entire life that has been ordained by God. So as a young man, he had this whole speech prepared, and the king never got out of his carriage to listen to it and ignored it completely. The time was set up to do this, the whole bit. And if you don't think that stuck in Robespierre's head for his whole life, you know, he can talk about, you know, if we were to talk to him right now and say, like, why did you do the things that you did? Why did you instigate the terror? Why were you so quick to kill the king? You know, and put them under the national razor, the guillotine. He would give us all these flowery exposition about, you know, enemies of the French people and, you know, liberty, egalitarianism, fraternity. But in the back of his mind, or even the front of his mind, there had to be some measure of, I'm getting my revenge from when I was a young man and this son of a bitch blew me off. Moral of the story is, don't try to fuck anybody over. But going back on topic, ICE. I did a quick cast the other day about, hey, if you are a good cop, you're one of the good ones out there, then you need to go ahead and quit. You're a good ICE agent. You're not one of these sociopaths. You're not one of these monsters that's into caging children and into caging people for just trying to better their lives from countries that we've actively destroyed through advancing our American empire and capitalism, or through the drug war. And this and you feel like, hey man, like, you know, one of the things I heard when I was on the police force, and even when I was in the Marine Corps, is that, you know, a lot of people, they weren't with the program. Or at least they said they were with the program. At some point, you have to take responsibility and be like, no, I am a part of this thing. But a lot of things I heard was, you know, I'm short. Like, I got 5 more years and I get a pension. What is that pension worth when you can't sleep at night? What is that pension worth when people are going to ask you, what did you do during this time? And you really can't give them an answer. Well, what is that shitty government pension? Because believe me, I've done public service. I know y'all don't get paid. Y'all don't get paid that much. You can find another job. I understand you got bills due. I understand you got a mortgage. You can find another job. And if you're listening to this podcast and you know someone who's working these jobs, who is an ICE agent or Border Patrol or INS or anybody who gives comfort and aid to these organizations, they should at a minimum become social pariahs. Like I am totally in the camp of, if you know these people, don't serve these people at restaurants. Do not let them engage. Do not let them do a 9 to 5 of brutal abuse of other human beings, and then think that they're going to take off that uniform and just walk back into the world and hang out with us. They can't sit with us in the cafeteria, high school lunch table of society. They can't sit with us. Now they need to go sit. They need to go sit with the rest of their people, even if they're not sociopaths and they think they're one of the good ones. Those are your folks. That's who you have chosen to associate yourself with and to go down your life path. Now, what I am for is giving those people an out. I'm not for complete demonization of those people, that they are not irredeemable. All you have to do is just turn in that badge, take off that uniform, and you're back with us. You're back with us on Team Human Being with the rest of normal society. Because this is not normal. These concentration camps, and that's what they are, is not normal. And if you're listening to this, you're already on team. You're more than likely already on Team Human. And what I want you to do, my call to action to you, is to disseminate this message. It doesn't have to be this tone. You can come to people you can do the Marianne Williams approach and come to them with love. If that is your lane, God bless. Do that. But I want you to disseminate that message to those people in those positions and let them know we love you. We care about you as people. Come back to society. You can step away from all this. There's still time. There's still time to be on the right side of history. If you're listening to this, you're already mad. And I want you to hold on to that anger. That anger, the thing about, there's good faith people out there that's like, don't be angry. Don't let anger consume you. And I agree with that to a point. It should not consume you. It should not consume you to the point where it paralyzes you, your anger. Don't let it do that. Do not let your anger turn into fear, which paralyzes you. But I want you to have, you all that are listening to the sound of my voice, I want you to have a full, fun, productive life. But anger is a gift. And it's a tool to be utilized in times like this when things need to get done and your fight or flight response is going off, and that anger is going to tip you over to fight instead of flight, and instead of being like a deer in the headlights and be paralyzed. Because as a civilized society, we are in fight mode. And we are backed into a corner now where left, right, I don't care what your political leanings are. This is not a philosophical issue. This is, what are we going to do to not go along with barbarism issue? And a couple of people who are doing just that are actually uncharacteristically and cynically, like, I can't even imagine that, I have no faith in our governmental processes anymore, but we have people out there like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez who are going to these concentration camps, and that's what they are. It is these concentration camps where we are holding undocumented migrants who violated a civil law, not even a criminal law, and they are being held there in ungodly, unsanitary conditions where people are dying. And let's just read some of her tweets. And there's some very important things in this tweet, so I really want to drill down on. Here's her tweet from July 1st. Just left the first CPB facility. I can see why CPB officers were being so physically and sexually threatening towards me. Officers were keeping women in their cells with no water and had told them to drink out of the toilet. This was them on their good behavior in front of members of Congress. That last line, this was them on their good behavior in front of members of Congress, is the most important line. It's the most important part of that whole tweet. Because what it shows is these people aren't even ashamed of what they're doing anymore. It's not even a situation where, at least if you're old enough and you're listening to this and you remember the Iraq War and you remember Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq where we were holding people, and we were another topic, but we were creating propaganda for terrorist organizations by holding those Iraqis, and then also Guantanamo Bay in Abu Ghraib prison in such terrible conditions and torturing them. All we did, this is why torture doesn't work. All you do is in sports, there's a term called don't create poster board material, whiteboard material. So it's like, let's say the Yankees are playing the Red Sox and a Yankees player goes popping off in the media about the Red Sox, they're garbage or trash, whatever. All you've done is motivate them. By doing this barbaristic, terroristic acts of torture to these people, we gave whiteboard material to terrorists. We created terrorist propaganda. So congratulations on that. That's super good. That's way off topic, but to get back, at least in Abu Ghraib, at least in Guantanamo Bay, we had the shame enough as a nation of what was acceptable to the American public and what was not acceptable to the American public to do a cover-up. We're not even doing fucking cover-ups anymore. These are United States House of Representative politicians coming down there. And they said, fuck it, we don't care. Like, this is how we rock. Well, what are you going to do about it? And this is a direct symptom of the Trump presidency. Because why wouldn't it be? Like, the CEO of Empire USA, Donald Trump, his whole thing is fuck it. So why wouldn't his employees say fuck it? Like, he's giving the example of how to act. He's giving the example of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. It's not that I want a cover up, but I just remember a time where we at least had shame. There's a Paul Mooney joke that he used to tell in one of his bits. He goes, I remember when TV had shame. I remember when TV had some kind of class because, television stations at midnight, they would play the national anthem, and TV went off. Beep. But now it's like a hooker that's open all night, all day, all night, 24 hours a day, pop, 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 pop on any channel. It has no shame, has no off switch. And that's what we're looking at the American empire. That's what we're looking at as capitalism fails. And people are going to get more reactionary unless they're giving something different. That something different is socialism. So as long as we keep going down this road of trickle-down economics and capitalism, and things are going to get worse and worse because that's what happens in capitalism. It's an Ouroboros that eats its own tail. People are going to reach out, and as long as the right wing is there, with no left wing to balance that out, no real leftist movement in this country, people are always going to reach to demonize the other. Always going to reach to take out their economic frustrations on the other. And the new other, it was black people, it was Africans, enslaved Africans from Africa, brought over here in the Middle Passage, the Holocaust, Native Americans, hell, the Irish even, Brown people from Central and South America are the new old other. They're the people that we hate. I left out the Chinese. I probably left out a bunch of other different groups, so sorry, I'll probably get a bunch of hate mail. You left out my group, but yes. Black and brown people from Central and South America are the new old other, the people that we're supposed to hate, but the people that keep our empire going. Because if we were able to Thanos out of existence, everybody here that's undocumented, everybody here that's violated a civil crime by crossing an imaginary border, well, bye-bye vegetables. Do you like going to restaurants? I want to be very clear. I'm not giving a economic defense of why we need to treat people like people. I could give a damn if people from Central and South America, especially from countries that we have ruined through our foreign policy, came here and played PlayStation all day. I could care less. I'm not giving that argument because that is a neoliberal garbage argument. What I'm trying to do is give you ammunition to talk to your coworkers and your centrist or right-wing cohorts about. I'm also sure, if you haven't already, here's your brief, but you've at least seen the headline of the ProPublica article about the secret Facebook group that Border Patrol agents had, or I guess they still have, that had over 9,500 members. And pretty much it was a place where you could go. You're a Border Patrol agent. You could hang out in a virtual space with other Border Patrol agents and share pornographic memes and pornographic Photoshop pictures of Representative AOC and just, have fun talk about your job. Let's read a little bit. I'll quote from the ProPublica article to give you some of the meat of this Facebook group. And I quote, "The Border Patrol Facebook group is one of the most recent examples of some law enforcement personnel behaving badly in public and private digital spaces. An investigation by Reveal uncovered hundreds of active duty and retired law enforcement officers who moved in extremist Facebook circles, including white supremacists and anti-government groups. A team of researchers calling themselves the Plainview Project recently released a hefty database of offensive Facebook posts made by current and ex-enforcement officers. In early 2018, federal investigators found a raft of disturbing and racist text messages sent by Border Patrol agents in southern Arizona after researching the phone of Matthew Bowen, an agent charged with running down a Guatemalan migrant with a Ford F-150 pickup truck. What a fucking gem he is. The texts, which are revealed in a court filing in federal court in Tucson, described immigrants as gwats, wild-ass shitbags, beaners, and subhuman. The messages included repeating discussions about burning the migrants up. So, that on its own, I want you to remember that for a second. Now, I want you to go back to last week with Chuck Todd in a tizzy with AOC for calling the concentration camps what they are, concentration camps. He was like, no, they're not like the Nazis. They're not death camps. First of all, she never said that. She said concentration camps. By definition, they are concentration camps. They are places where we are holding people against their will arbitrarily. Where we don't have to do this. We didn't do this before Trump. Well, actually, we did. We did this during Obama. That was bad as well. But you see what I'm saying. It's a concentration camp. We don't really need to argue about that. But let's take him at his word. He's really concerned about Nazi death camps. Okay, Chuck. So I'm going to read you something else. This is from NBC News. Agents feared riots, armed themselves of dire conditions at migrant facility, DHS reports. The findings counter the statement by a top Trump admin official that reports of poor conditions for migrants at the border stations were unsubstantiated. So let's take that. Let's take those two sentences and break them down. DHS's own report says that agents feared riots and armed themselves in the concentration camps because of the dire conditions. But then they're saying at the same time that reports of conditions being dire are unsubstantiated. You really don't even need to read past the headline to see how hypocritical and not logical that is at all. Those two sentences contradict each other. If you're afraid of a riot because conditions are so fucking bad that you have to arm yourself, and then on the opposite side of your neck, you're going to tell people that the conditions aren't bad, what the fuck are you saying? What are you even talking about? Let's read a little more. The government's own internal watchdog warned as far back as May that conditions at an El Paso, Texas border station were so bad that border agents were arming themselves against possible riots, countering Friday's assertion by a top Trump administration official that the reports of poor conditions of migrants were unsubstantiated. In an internal report prepared by the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General and obtained by ABC News, inspectors noted during a May 7th tour of border station in El Paso sector that only 4 showers were available and 756 immigrants, more than half of the immigrants, were being held outside. And migrants inside were being kept in cells maxed out at more than 4 to 5 times their capacity. Here's the important part. Border agents remained armed in holding areas because they were worried about the potential for unrest, the report said. Now, in one hand, and Chuck Todd is quick to tell you, these are not death camps. In one hand, we've got the complete dehumanization and othering. Again, let me go back. These people were described by the Border Patrol agents who work at these facilities as gwats, wild-ass shitbags, beaners, and subhuman. We already have dehumanization language. That's what these people think about the people that are under their protection. On the other hand, they're so afraid of those people because of the situation that they have created that they feel the need to arm themselves. When those two mindsets combine, how far away are we from death camps? That is the logical conclusion of what comes next. 1 + 1 = 2. That is the next step. How long is it till somebody gets shot in there? And then, you know what's going to happen. They're going to make up some kind of story about how some mother from Guatemala planned some kind of great uprising, and they were going to murder all the guards, and they had to shoot them. They had to shoot everybody. They had to shoot the kids and the women and the men and the women. Because if law enforcement's good at one thing, they're good at covering their own asses and not telling on their own. And everybody's going to go into, when the first shot gets fired in there, everybody's going to go into shutdown mode. Nobody's going to tell the truth. Nobody's going to say, you see this happen on the street all the time with legal American citizens. Drugs get planted on people by cops. Weapons get planted on people by cops. Happens all the time. How? And you've already got a sense. Again, these people are saying that those people are subhuman. They will have no problem lying and making up some kind of a story of why they had to kill those people. And people like Chuck Todd and the rest of the liberal media is going to go along with that narrative, whatever they get fed from DHS and the White House. That's just how it's going to be. So we're sitting on a powder keg here. That's why these places need to be dismantled today. Today, these people need to be let go. These people need their asylum hearings. We already had a system in place before all this where you got an ankle bracelet slapped on you, you went to your asylum hearing, you let the legal system run its course. It worked just fine. We don't need concentration camps, which are eventually going to lead to death camps. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic. I think I'm just being logical. And I'm going to end with this today. Writer Naomi Wolf, back in 2007, wrote an article about how to get to fascist America in 10 easy steps. I'm going to read them down. I'm going to read them for you. And we'll stop when one of them doesn't have, this was 2007, but when one of them doesn't have any relevancy in our current American situation, we'll stop there. Let's start. Let's start at 1. Number 1, invoke a terrifying internal and external enemy. Illegal immigrants that are already here taking your jobs. Illegal immigrants, migrant caravans coming across the border externally to take your jobs or God knows what. So, number 1, we've already passed that bar. Number 2, create a gulag. This whole damn podcast is about concentration camps. We're leaping. We're just leaping over these bars. So easy. Number 3, develop a thug cast, because that's a little open to interpretation and subjective. But when leaders who seek, this is from her writing, when leaders who seek what I call a fascist state want to close down an open society, they send paramilitary groups of scary young men out to terrorize citizens. Oh, you mean like Charlottesville? Oh, you mean like the alt-right? Oh, you mean like the Proud Boys? Oh, you mean like Patriot Prayer? All right, moving on. Set up an internal surveillance system. Well, good Lord, we already have. We already have the Patriot Act. Obama locked that into place. Moving on. Number 5, harass citizens groups. Seems like number 4 and number 5 go hand in hand. We already have the surveillance system, which keeps track of any kind of political action, any kind of community action, any kind of groups that people belong to. Number 4 and 5 go hand in hand. Number 6, engage in arbitrary detention and release. Oh, you mean like concentration camps that we've set up, where we weren't putting illegal immigrants in concentration camps not that long ago. We didn't have ICE until 2002. It's pretty arbitrary. ICE is an arbitrary organization that could be dismantled tomorrow. We're denying people asylum hearings. We're going against the law. It's pretty arbitrary. I think we passed that. Number 7, target key individuals. You mean like how these law enforcement agents target AOC in their private Facebook group? How they say things like, fuck that bitch, and they make pornographic memes about her. I think we're past 7. Let's go to 8. Control the press. Oh, you mean like set up a de facto national press, like Fox News, that gets its marching orders from the White House? That was an easy one. Jeez. Dissent equals treason. Oh, you mean like when you kneel for the national anthem and you're quote unquote not a real American and you should lose your job? Like that, kind of like a Colin Kaepernick thing. Kind of like how if you have any criticism against the police state, you're told to shut up and support the troops and back the blue, and you're not a real American if you have any criticism of foreign wars and police brutality. Number 9, y'all. Moving right through. Number 10, suspend the rule of law. We're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet for American citizens. But we're obviously already there for undocumented immigrants, where we're denying them asylum hearings. We're already there in Oregon, where to not meet quorum, right-wing conservative state house members decide to just run to the hills so so a vote on climate change doesn't get passed. I would call that suspension of the law. So those are just 2 examples, and I'll be generous and say that that's not everywhere yet. That's not a thing that Trump hasn't done martial law. I don't think he would, but we'll be generous and say that's not a overarching thing that's happened yet. So we're at 9. We've completed 9 of the steps that she's laid out for fascism. So congratulations, liberal America. Congratulations, Third Way. Through your inaction and through your inability to stand up to right-wing reactionaries in this country, and the way that you will protect your class interest and protect capitalism to let these people take over our government completely through gerrymandering, through Citizens United, through not effectively standing up to Donald Trump. We have allowed fascism to take hold in this country. We are at number 9. Congratulations. Congratulations, guys. We did it. We're number 9. We're number 9. Congratulations. This is what we get for all the people who thought it wasn't important to vote. And I'm talking to you leftists as well. Go vote for the lesser of two evils, please. Can you do that and then go back to the fight? Like, that's a thing you should also be doing. So congratulations, everybody who either didn't want to take part in our electoral process and didn't want to, quote unquote, vote for the lesser of two evils, vote for Hillary. Congratulations to those who said, you know what, we can't have Bernie Sanders because he would cost me my consulting gig, and it's okay if I have Trump, even though you won't say that out loud because you know he doesn't affect your class interests, he doesn't affect your class position, and at the end of the day, you're fine with fascism. Congratulations, we did it. And all that's left to hit number 10 is just to suspend the rule of law. If you don't want that to happen, or you at least want to be able to sleep at night, or you at least want to be able to tell your kids and grandkids what you did in this time, it's time for you to do something. It's time for you to get involved in organizations all around the United States. In New Orleans, we've got Congresso, which is a Congress of Day Laborers that needs your help. There's the Lights for Liberty events. They're going on. You can find them through your Facebook. You can get involved. The great thing about this age that we live in, if you can hear the sound of my voice and you're alive, is that your smartphone will get you connected to any information in any kind of group you could ever dream of. And it's all in your hands, and you need to make it happen. And if there's not an organization that's willing to kick and scream and yell and protest and contact their lawmakers, you need to be the vanguard and start that organization. That's my time for today. I hope you're fired up. I hope you're angry. I hope you're ready to go sell your labor with a vengeance. Remember to like us, subscribe. That really helps in the ratings for the podcast. Go to our Patreon. That's how we keep the lights on and the server costs paid. We'll be doing Twitch some more pretty soon. So thank you. But thank you for everybody who's listening worldwide. People are listening to this worldwide. I'm really excited about that. And I'll see you tomorrow. Remember to have solidarity with your coworkers today. And thank you again so much for listening.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you all.